Episode 2, Room Loading. Welcome back. This is the second episode in a series about the internal workings of our social multiplayer game Compensation and some related computer science concepts. Without further ado, let's begin. This is going to be a much more technical video than the previous one, since this episode delves into a lot more of the Compensation internal code. Hopefully you can keep up, and feel free to ask questions in the comments. What happens when you press join? When you press the button to join a room in Compensation, we call this function on our internal Network Manager class, which handles all of our matchmaking and other networking tasks. From there, the Network Manager makes sure you're not already loading a room, as weird things can happen if you join multiple at the same time, and then kicks off the join process. First, we load information about the room, so we can display it on the screen as we fade out. From there, we handle all the possible error cases. Next up, we display the room name. If we can't find the author's public data, for example, if their account has been deleted, or we've hit a rate limit, then we just display the room name. Otherwise, we display it in a similar format to how GitHub formats their repository names. Next, we freeze the player's location. The true tells the function that this is a loading screen, not the login screen, so we can still use the watch. After that, we fade to black and begin the process of actually joining the room. Once the server receives our matchmaking request, it will send us a message to join a certain Photon room. From there, we can call the Photon WSV2 command received function, which sets off the chain of events that actually take us into the room. Remember, from this point on, the server thinks we are in the room instantly. The main thing this function does is to clean up our creation objects and leave the current room. As you may remember from our last episode on Photon networking, we need to transfer authority of persistent objects before leaving, or they will be destroyed. That's what custom rooms handler.creation systems cleanup does. Now, the function WSV2 after leave does all the heavy lifting for the entire room loading system. We're going to go through it in steps because it's impossible to fit this entire function on screen at a time. First, we clear the lookup tables and arrays of nearby players in the room. Next, we instruct Unity to begin loading the scene. Then, every frame, we check if the operation is done. If not, we display the percentage it's loaded and wait until the next frame. Once the operation is done, we inform the user and keep going. Next, we define the list of parameters the instance needs to fulfill. We set max players to 0, meaning that there is no limit. Player limits are, after all, defined by the Matchmaking API, so we have no need for them client-side. After that, we inform the client and attempt to join or create the instance. As you can see, if the room fails to be created or joined, we load a disconnect scene and unlock the player's position. After that, we wait until the player is in the Photon room, then proceed. Next, we fetch our permissions in the room we're joining. From there, we can update our current permissions list. By default, players have no permissions in a room. Next, if we're the first person in the room, we need to load any creation objects saved in the current public version. For this, we use a neat little helper we devised that lets you use tasks in a Unity coroutine without a bunch of hassle. We pass the isInitialLoad argument as true so that we don't freeze the player another time. After that, we wait for Photon to connect to voice. That code is fairly verbose and outside the scope of this video, so we'll skip over it. Next, we refresh the local player's available tags. This is used for internal permissions like whether or not you're a developer, and other things. Here you can see another use of the yieldable task system. After that, we propagate the permissions to all of the tag events in the room. And there you have it. We're in the room. All we need to do is set the player's position and rotation to that of the spawn point and unfreeze them. From there, we display their room name and welcome them. Conclusion. The room loading system of Compensation can certainly be optimized, but it's functional so far and fairly robust. If you have any questions, please make sure to let us know in the comments. Join us next time for episode 3, where we'll go into a quick overview of the room permission system. Thanks for watching.